Okay, sublimation. So ammonium chloride and salt mixture, you take it, heat it. What happens to there? So ammonium chloride undergoes sublimation. So gas is going to be produced. When it reaches its sublimation point, it undergoes sublimation. Whereas the common salt do not undergo sublimation there. So that gas can be collected here and separate these two. So till all the ammonium chloride is undergoing sublimation, you can heat. After that, separate. So here there remains a common salt, and this gas, keep it for cooling. Once again, that is going to solidify there. This is what we call it as a sublimation. Sublimation is the process in which sublimable substance gets separated from the non-sublimable substance there. So another one is the chromatography. When you have this minor particle, chromo means it is derived from Greek word chroma. Chroma means color. Graphy means separation. It is chromatography is a substance. Basically, it is used for separating the colored particles there. So this method will help us to separate out some of the components which are specially colored, and nowadays this method is also useful for colorless substances also there. So this method is used for separating the colored components from a liquid using filter paper or this blotting paper or this chromatographic papers are available with the help of that. So how it is done? So I shall explain how it can be done like that. Take a chromatographic paper like this. Okay. So mark one line, the reference line, we make it one mark, we make it there. Okay. On that mark you put a dot, ink dot, either red or blue. So take a beaker which contains some water there, some amount of water. So put that chromatographic paper in that there, immerse it up to the level of that, and above that, so to some extent, then what happens there? The colored particle gets separated themselves there. Some it is color particles, maybe mixture of different colored substances get separated. One will separate at one level, another one will separate at another level, another one will be at some other level like that. Like this, the separation of these components will be taking place there. So this method is what we call the chromatographic method. It is especially if color substances are there, minute particles are there, to separate that this chromatographic technique is used there. So like that they are going to separate. Distillation. What is distillation? So distillation is a method used for separating a mixture of miscible liquid which are having boiling point, slightly different with each other, and after that, so vapors are going to produce their when you cool it, you can collect that vapors of the liquids there. So arrangement of this simple distillation, there are two types: simple distillation and fractional distillation. So what is done? That the mixture of, for example, you have the mixture of acetone and water. Take in a round bottom glass like this. There is an arrangement here to record the temperature at which each liquid is going to undergo vaporization or convert into gaseous form there. And there is an arrangement here called as a condenser, it is through which there is a cold water circulation will be there. And heat that mixture with the help of burner. Experimental setup will be like this. It is heat it with the help of a burner, so that when one of the component, both the component, see, all liquids will have their fixed boiling points. When they reach their particular boiling point, okay, they are going to separate from each other. They are going to convert into the vapor form. Then vapors are going to be collected there and cooled to get a liquid form. Say for example, acetone and liquid are there. Acetone is having a low boiling point. So what happens when we heat it? So acetone gets vaporized first. The vapors are going to pass through this condenser. They are going to cool up here, collected here. Till all the particles of acetone get converted to vapor form, there will not be any rise in temperature. After that, so once again the water is going to be, you separate that acetone component there. So keep another beaker here. So heat that water. So water get evaporate till all the particles of water convert into vapor form. There will not be any rise in temperature. Vapors of water can also be collected, and vapors are collected, cooled and collected again as another component. So this is what the simple technique of distillation is. So this is based on the principle that every liquid will have fixed boiling points at which they are going to convert into vapors, and vapors are cooled to get the liquid form of those components. Another one is the fractional distillation. It is used for separating the components like this petroleum and other components there. So petroleum products to separate it is used. What is done in there? Mixture of different components will be taken, heated first above the boiling points of all the components which are present, then subjected by cooling one by one. So when they reaches their cooling temperature, cooling temperature, they are going to convert into liquid and collected here. So this method is used for separation of this petroleum component, known as the fractional distillation. The mixture of liquid will be heated above their boiling points there, so that all will be converted into gaseous form. Then they are subjected for cooling one by one, so that separation of mixture is done there. How this air is a mixture of different components. Okay, how the air separation of air is done there. So what is done? When air mixture is compressed by applying the pressure and is cooled. Okay, so air mixture is subjected for cooling first of all. Cooled below the cooling temperature of all the components which are present. For example, boiling point of oxygen is 183, argon is 186, nitrogen is 196 there. Below that temperature 196, minus 196, right? Oxygen is minus 183, argon minus 186, this is minus 196. Below that temperature they are going to be cooled. Then, liquid air, the gases are going to be converted into liquid form and allowed to warm. Once they are converted to liquid, they are allowed to warm. So when you go on warming one by one, they are going to separate. So oxygen separates at 183 Kelvin and argon at 186 and nitrogen 196. So like that, the separation of mixture of air is done there. Okay. So purification of solid by crystallization. We come across the word crystallization. So crystallization is the process it is obtained by obtaining a pure solid in the form of crystals from the solution. So dissolve the substance in a minimum amount of water, keep it for cooling. So when you keep it for cooling, the solid particles get separated from the liquid. That process of separation of solid from the liquid is what we call it as the crystallization. For example, copper crystal, blue color crystals of copper are obtained by this method. So by cooling, the copper crystals can be separated. Process of separation or obtaining a pure solid in the form of crystal from liquid is called as crystallization. So types of pure substances. In that I had explained about these elements and compounds there. So as far as the elements are concerned, the element is the one which is made up of same kind of atoms in it. So there are about 118 elements known up till today. So of which some elements, okay, so 118 elements. So they will be having different what is that nature there. So of which some are metal, some are non-metal, and some are metalloids there. So you will be learning in the class 10th somewhat in detail and more about the elements there, properties of elements. Anyway, as a part of this chapter, let me explain in brief about the elements there, properties of elements. So in that we have the metals and non-metals. So metals, we know that you have studied in junior classes. Metals are malleable in nature. That means metals can be hammered into thin sheet of paper. So ductility, etc. there. So we'll go for those properties there. Metals have the luster nature. Metal luster means shining property there. So they are malleable in nature. So they can be made into thin sheet. They are ductile in nature. So they can be drawn into thin and long length wire. They are very good conductors of heat and electricity. They are sonorous in nature, etc. there. So these are all the properties of metal. Some metals like iron, aluminum, zinc, copper, silver, mercury, all these things will be exhibiting these properties there. So among the different metals, so mercury is the only liquid metal. All others are existing in the solid state only there. As far as the properties of non-metals are concerned, they do not exhibit any luster except this diamond, the extraordinary brilliance it has there. They are malleable in nature, they are not malleable in nature, they are not ductile, they are not sonorous, okay. So they do not conduct heat and electricity. There are some exceptions like graphite, made up of carbon only, that conduct electricity there. So like properties of metalloids. See, in between and metals and non-metals. So we have the other kind of substance called as metalloids. Metalloids exhibit the properties. It just like some cases, little like metals, little like non-metals, boron, silicon, germanium, etc. are nothing but the metalloids. Okay, they are that is about the element. Somewhat in detail you will be learning in the 10th class. There, one chapter is there about metals and non-metals there. Compounds. What are compounds? Compound is a substance composed of two or more elements chemically combined together in a fixed ratio. Compound is made up of two or more elements, but those elements are present in the fixed ratio only. For example, water is there. Two hydrogen and one oxygen combined to form water molecule. Okay, by mass 2 grams of two hydrogen and 2 grams of this hydrogen and 16 grams of oxygen together combined to form a water there. Okay, carbon dioxide, carbon oxygen combined to form a carbon dioxide. Sugar, salt, etc. They are all the examples of compounds only there. So another is the mixture it is. What's mixture? Difference between this compound and mixture is different. We are expected to know it. So it is a composed of two or more substances, elements or compounds together. So in the case of mixture, there may be two or more different elements, or there may be two or more different compounds there. Whereas in case of compounds, there will be two or more elements there, they are present in the fixed ratio. Composition of the components is in the ratio, in any ratio. There is no fixed ratio. Whereas the composition of components are in the fixed ratio. It shows the properties of components. It shows the properties of the components there. So these will be showing the individual properties, whereas these will be showing the components which are they will be showing the same properties there. Components can be separated by physical means. Mixture can be separated. Already we have discussed different methods of separation there. Whereas the components of this cannot be separated by physical means, but they can be separated by some chemical means. Okay. This is about the difference between mixture and compound.